Hey my loves, welcome back. It's Dion, your Sin City Medium, and today we are talking all things spiritual awakening, right? I'll give a little bit about my personal experiences, as well as talk about like the major elements of a spiritual awakening. Mind you, it's different for everybody. However, there are some key pieces that you cannot escape. They're gonna happen whether you like it or not once the process starts, right? So let's talk about it. For one, just know that spiritual awakenings come about in different ways. For some people, it's gradual. For others, it does come about from something seemingly traumatic, right? It doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes people can just have these epiphanies and next thing you know, boom, they're catapulted into a spiritual awakening. Why? Because it is in divine timing. You will enter it when you're supposed to, okay? I do know one of the first things that happens, it feels like in a spiritual awakening, is that ego death, right? But what is even the ego? What is it? When people say that, normally this is how you tend to identify in this current state, right? So I like to tell people it's whatever you put on your resume, in a sense. That is how you identify. And that is the ego death that happens. All these things that were seemingly so important to you and what made you feel good about yourself just kind of become so minimized, right? And you go from being in the thick of it, a psychologist, veteran, you're all these things, Forbes, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But when you go through that ego death, you realize like none of that really matters. Like it doesn't hold as much weight as you thought it did, right? It's more so now about like your being, your true being. However, you don't know that yet. You're just going to the ego death and it feels like all these things are happening. You feel suspended and detached. You start to feel this sense of, what am I doing here, right? Like I no longer identify with this. There's something at the job where something that you loved for so long that all of a sudden you're like, what am I doing this for? I'm working 8 and 10 hours for what every day? Surely there's more than this, right? Surely life is meant to be more than this. You start to ask yourself these questions after that initial ego death, okay? Normally that doesn't last that long. Immediately, it feels like we start going into this phase where we're wanting to know deeper truths beyond what we've been taught, right? And a lot of times between the ego death and trying to search for more information, this is where people start getting all the synergy, right? And you start to recognize like what you thought was coincidence isn't necessarily coincidence. This is where now you're seeing all these angel numbers, right? You could be working and you look up and it's like, damn, 222. 333, and they're like, there's no way this could be happening all day long. It's literally like incessant, right? Like, look at me, notice. And they're literally trying to get your attention, your spirit team is, in order to support you and guide you through this spiritual awakening. So now we move into phase 2, right? You get into this part where you're seeking these truths. So you start looking at YouTube, you start looking at these documentaries, right? And you start to recognize like, oh my goodness, as you're suspended now, because before you're in it, you're in the thick of it. It's like, go to work, do this, do that, right? And now you kind of break away from that and you're seeing this aerial view of everything. That's the detachment that happens. So now you're looking for the deeper truth because of the incessant call, right? Those energetic nudges that they're giving you to do some research. So as you start watching these documentaries and YouTube, you start recognizing how connected we truly are to everything around us. And you start to say, oh my goodness, like, why was I never taught this? Like, it almost feels like purposefully hidden from all of us, everything that is within us. This is where now you might be learning about your chakras, right? And you're like, man, these 7 major chakras. And then you're learning about Kundalini and the serpent that comes up, right? That helps you to move you into alignment through the chakras, right? And then you notice, oh my goodness, there's a documentary on Serpent Mound. The serpent with the 7 mounds, like the 7 chakras, right? Listen, there's so much to research, so much to do. And it is like overwhelming almost, right? It's almost overwhelming. It's like you're taking in all this information. You'll find that you're so tired, but you're obsessed. And this is where you begin to realize, oh no, you're almost looking at everybody else like, do you guys not see this? How do you not see it? How do you not see it? And it's such a lonely place though, because the reality of it is when this hits you, who are you talking to about it? You literally, this is where people start talking about spiritual psychosis, because you sit there and you feel like you're a crazy person having these experiences, but now you know for sure what you thought was coincidence isn't, and you're recognizing all the synergy around you, and it's literally like a parallel universe here in the 3D, where this is a physical experience, but you recognize now there's so much more energy around you. And at this point too, this is where you say, okay, I'm gonna meditate. You want more information. You want them to communicate with you directly. So this is a lot of times where people begin to meditate. They begin to channel messages for themselves, because they can already tell, they can feel the energy of their spirit team trying to communicate with them. So now when they can be still in those deep breaths of meditation, they can receive downloads, right? And this is where that truly begins. And this is where now you're recognizing that misalignment that you have with your friend groups, or that misalignment that you're having at the job, is because these are the conversations you can't really have, right? And this is where now you start seeking out others, or you realize that, man, I worked so hard to get this 6-figure job, and the reality of it is, like, you find a different type of contentment. Other things make you happy. Your life begins to feel more fulfilled, learning more, right? Doing more things outdoor, recognizing that connectedness. It's no longer this, like, how do you say it? Like socioeconomic differences. Like, you're recognizing we're all one, right? But at the same time, you feel so separate because you can't have these conversations. So it's a very messed up place to be for the moment, but you're questioning everything at this point, right? And then it begins to seemingly, as you fall in love and you come home and you meditate. I was going through a period where I would come home and I'd meditate for hours, like 3 hours at a time. I was obsessed. I couldn't wait to hurry up and lay in my bed and like meditate, because I just wanted the information. I just wanted to keep sucking it down, right? But then after that bliss, it's almost like you go into this void. And that void, okay, a lot of people call this the dark night of the soul. It's where now you're like, oh my goodness, it's like you go in to meditate, right? And you're trying to find that sweet space again, but it feels so void. It's like this darkness. They're absent of you. It's what you feel like. It's like you can't communicate in the 3D, the 5D. Your spirit team isn't communicating with you, and nothing. Everything seems to fall apart. Some people start losing their jobs here, relationships, divorces, like all these things begin to happen. It literally feels like everything you had laid out just begins to crumble, right? Picture a piece of paper and you just start crumbling. That's what your life feels like in the dark night of the soul. And you're wondering, like, how did I go from this state of bliss with all these things that I was learning to now you're in this phase where it's like hell, it's just dark and you're searching for answers and you're not getting them. Sometimes it's hard to meditate in this area, right? Dark night of the soul is something tough, and you truly at times can feel alone. But I do believe, right, based on my spiritual awakenings and when I was going through dark night of the soul, you know what? I would cry and be like, where are you? I can't feel you, right? Like, I need you now more than ever. Like, this is where I need you. And I truly feel like, one, they're never really gone. They're still there. They're still supporting you, right? But it's one of those things where I think they're like teaching you to learn to ground yourself. And this is so necessary, because after that, grounding becomes like this daily thing, right? So it's almost like they comfort you, they coddle you, they show you all the things, they show you what's possible, and then it's like that dark night of the soul, and you have to learn to ground yourself, right? Self-soothe in a sense, and that is so important. That is so important, because a lot of times, even somebody trigger you at the job or whatever, it's important to be able to go to that bathroom and be like, right? Ground yourself so that you can move from a grounded state of peace, heartfelt space, and that's how you handle your issues moving forward, right? So there's that. But now we move on to the phase where it's the purging and ascension, right? So where it went from seemingly feeling like everything was being ripped from you, like jobs and friendships and things like that, even though you knew that these were not elements of your life that you necessarily, and it's not every single person, but it feels like a majority, like life is upside down, 180, right? As you're closing this out and you package everything that went along with your old identity and things that can only identify you with those aspects that you no longer identify with, you start closing that out. That's like that purging, right? So it becomes a little bit less painful. It doesn't feel like it's being ripped. Now you have an understanding because you've done this deeper work. Now you know how to ground and soothe yourself. So you're looking at things from a different perspective. It's no longer happening to you. Now you more so understand the way the universal law works. And this is where, because you understand what's happening, it's easier to surrender and accept it, right? And it feels better, to be honest with you. It starts to feel better. But when you're going through this purging and ascension phase, a lot of the symptoms feel as if you have the flu. It feels very stuffy at times. I remember feeling like my areas were just clogged all the time and having this low tone type headache, and it was just something that would not go away. It wasn't no Tylenol, it wasn't no tea, and you guys know I love my little tap-in tea. Like nothing would ease it. It was just something that like you had to go through, and it's literally your body. If you think of like how a snake sheds its skin, or a butterfly, right? A caterpillar evolving into a butterfly. It's like going through, it's a transitional phase. So yes, there's still a lot of tears here. Yes, you feel sick, you're tired, you're drained. And you know what's crazy about this part too? I'm gonna say this is where a lot of people find themselves waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's when people talk about that 4 a.m. club. That's what it is. And I'm gonna say this is how you know everything is connected. Google your circadian rhythm. You literally start to your body that 4 a.m. It's like your body it's resetting itself, the rebirth of you as you go through this awakening. But yes, so your circadian rhythm changes and you start waking up like at 4 o'clock in the morning. I would say, because this is what I did. Oh my goodness. I would wake up and it would be so seamless. I would get the best downloads at 4 a.m. The best. Keep a pen and paper on your nightstand. It's like you don't want to miss it. Make sure you journal and record everything that you're going through, feeling, everything that you're seeing, right? Because this is where the whole process starts, where the developing of communication with your spirit team. This is where, deeper channeling happens and you're recognizing, oh my goodness, like ascended masters, spirit guides and angels, archangels, right? That you're able to communicate with at 4 a.m. Listen, a 4 a.m. thing ain't no joke. So make sure you're getting your rest as you go through this purging and ascension phase. Go to bed as early as you can so that when they do wake you up at 4 o'clock, you're still able to function when you have to go about and do whatever you need to do later on throughout the day, right? After this phase is where you're in more alignment. Now it feels like you're walking through life. You just feel more of a sense of happiness. Like I said, that connectedness. Your interactions with people are different, right? You're able to hold a lot more grace for other people. Are we justifying behaviors? No, we're not justifying the behaviors, but we're able to see that like we're all on our own individual journey. So boom, I might have hit my spiritual awakening, at this age, at 24. They might not hit theirs till 34 or whatever the case may be, but we can look back at old situations that we no longer have any negative emotion tied to, right? Because we don't even identify with the person that those things happen to. We can look back at those situations and say, damn, I almost feel sorry for them, right? Like that person, you can say they didn't mean to do those things to you, but you can know that they were behaving from an unhealed place. Now, is healing ever done? No, it ain't. We're constantly healing, right? But you know that you are now in a place where you are more aligned and enlightened to understanding that, listen, I get it. Like they're on their journey, let them do their thing. You can release people with love and light because you know that they're just doing the best they can. Everybody's doing their own thing, right? Your journey is your journey. And soon you'll recognize that the way you move and the path that you're supposed to follow is autonomous of what other people are doing around you, to be honest, right? I'm gonna keep it real with you though. Does that mean like everything is all love and light? Hell no. Like, does that mean you never want to pop off? Hell no. But what it does mean, right, is that you can stop, you can ground, and you can move from a place of heart space, right? You lead with love in your life, and you do it more so for yourself, the love you have for yourself, than other people. So rather than viewing things as if somebody's getting over on you or something like that, be proud of yourself and say, you know what, I'm moving. the way a light being would move. And I'm gonna let your ass go with love and light, and I'm not gonna allow myself to be bothered or to drudge up any sort of negative energy, right? But this is where that spiritual hygiene is important, and why the grounding and meditation and those things is super important on a daily basis. Hygiene, you gotta do it every day, just like brushing your teeth, right? Is the energy there? Let me make sure I'm not missing any. I don't think I'm missing any of the key points. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm more than happy to answer them. But yeah, those are like the 5 key pieces of a spiritual awakening, right? The ego death. Now you're looking for deeper meaning, your true self, right? Now it's a whole new identity. The purging and ascension, those last little pieces, the fine tuning, and then boom, alignment, all right? I love you guys. I hope this was helpful to you. Okay, family, don't forget to join us live on TikTok daily. We go live every day, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you there. We've also got a Discord. Come join the Sin City tribe. We're doing yes or no's, channeled messages, as well as intuitive practice. And guess what? We've got weekly giveaways. Who doesn't love a giveaway? And this is all for less than the cost of a TikTok live reading. I hope to see you there.